Before the video begins, please watch till the end. This took me forever to make, and make sure to subscribe. We're trying to hit 10K by the end of the year, and also this video took forever to edit and make. Like, so long. So hello gamers. So originally I was like, oh, I should rank the assault rifles from worst to best, but then I was like, that would take way too long, and then I'd kind of make a lot of guns miss out. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give them a letter grade from F, E, D, C, B, A, and S. Just like the stupid tier list that people do all the time, it'll cause a little bit less distress in people, because people are gonna be like, no, this gun is better than this gun is better than this gun, and there's just way too many for me to actually rank them from worst to best and actually give like a good opinion on all of them. So let's just start it off with the AK-12. It's pretty good. It's got a pretty good auto and obviously the super good burst. The damage is like decent, and of course the recoil is super low. It's not my favorite. I'm gonna give this one a certified C tier. It's really good, and you could say it's like one of the best guns in the game, like very low recoil and whatnot, but in my opinion, just not really the best for me. To really get the most out of it, you need to spam burst it, and I really hate the spam burst. Like, I just hate having to hyper burst guns, and if you don't hyper burst it, it's basically just like not that good, since it shoots kind of slow, like 700 RPM. It's not the slowest, but for the damage that it does, it's not really the best. Alright, I need to stop going off with this thing so I can die and go to the next gun. Next up is the AN-94. This thing, it doesn't shoot that fast. It doesn't do the most damage. With hollow points, you can get up to a 3-hit without losing the 5-hit all ranges. The best part is you don't even lose a hit to kill or recoil control or anything when you do that. This one gets a B tier. Not the best, but it's pretty good. Now the Aes Val has 900 RPM. It can 3-hit super far, 5-hit all ranges. The muzzle velocity, not the best. It's so strong. Like, it just melts people. The recoil is very controllable. It has a full stock now, and it has an extended mag, and you can use both of them. The Aes Val has always been like one of those insane guns that is always super used because it's good. It's low rank, it's strong, it's so good. The Aes Val gets an S tier from me. It's insane. But next up is the Scar L. It does 33 to 25, 600 RPM, like no recoil at all. This is with not the best loadout since I have a muzzle brake on it, and that's going to make a little bit of horizontal recoil happen. It would probably be better with comp folding. But as you can see, very little recoil, not the fastest RPM, but it does a ton of damage in LRC and a decent amount of damage in CQC. Overall, this one gets an A tier. The Aug A1 is alright. It has a pretty far 4-hit range, and it can't 4-hit all ranges like the Scar L. In my opinion, why would you use this over the Scar L? It shoots kind of slow. It has like about the same recoil, and it doesn't 4-hit all ranges, and I think it does less damage in CQC as well. 30 to 23 versus 33 to 25. It has a little bit more RPM, but it's really not like worth it in my opinion, so I would just use the Scar L. This one gets a certified B tier from me. No, why not a C tier? It gets a C tier. The M16A4, this thing was insane. This thing was so good, like the best gun in the game. This and the M4 were like the best guns in the entire game until they nerfed the hyperbursts on them, and they're really not that good anymore. Like, it can still one burst in CQC. Not that far, but I don't think they nerfed the damage or anything, just the ability to hyperburst. So it makes it just not quite as good. In my opinion, this one gets a C tier as well. It could be a lot better, but it's not. The G36, if you want to get a bit more RPM, and by a bit more, I mean 150 more than the Scar L, but still be able to 4-hit all ranges, then this is your gun. It does a little bit less damage in CQC, but the same damage in LRC, with the added bonus of having 750 RPM. But it has a huge downside, which is that the recoil kind of sucks. You can still hit things and whatnot, but like, recoil not the best. This is a very popular gun. Probably because God status. That's mostly what people think when they hear about the G36. In my opinion, it's good, but it's not really the best, so I'm going to give it a B tier. You probably know what I'm going to say about this. It's really good in all aspects of the gun. It's really hard to, like, say that this isn't a super good gun, because low recoil, big mag with 223, not the most damage, but pretty good RPM, and it's just really solid for use all around. It's not the best gun. This game definitely has guns that could do better, but overall, just because of the reloads and everything, this thing can be really good for high kill games, and Sweats use it all the time. So overall, this one's gonna get a certified S tier. It could get an A, but I think S is probably good for what it is because it's just really good at everything. Well, minus the damage, of course. All right, they voted Bizarre, so we went to a new server. We got another game of Desert Storm, and this gun could be considered really good. It shoots at what, like 700 RPM, which is pretty fast. It has a pretty good 3-hit range. Only 20 damage in LRC, but it's still 5-hit. Is it the best gun in the game? No. Is it the worst gun in the game? No. It's pretty good. Doesn't do the most damage, but 20 damage. It seems like it's not as much as the other guns, but it's the same hits to kill. Like, it could be a 6-hit, but it's not, so good for stylists. Although, I would say that this is really just outclassed by a lot of the other assault rifles. The recoil, obviously, I don't have a compensator on it, so it's not going to be the best recoil, but this can be a very, very low recoil gun, so pretty good, to be honest. So this can get a B tier as well. Pretty good. Now we're on to the K2. Now, I think this is what outclasses the Aug A2, because the K2, it shoots faster, really has pretty accurate recoil as well. It does way more min to a farther range. It has a quicker reload, so it's like overall just kind of an upgrade in my opinion. It's also the gun right after it. If you have not used this thing before, it is a monster. I'm using the extended mag on it, or the 223 extended mag. Might take that off, because then it can't 3-hit anymore, but it does have a 40-round mag with that and less recoil. As you can see, this thing is ballin'. This thing is so good. It's like an absolute truck for an assault rifle. 3-hit and to a 5-hit. That's almost a 4-hit all ranges, but it's not. If it was 1 more damage, it would be super broken, but luckily it's not, because otherwise it would just be a G36 upgrade in every sense of the word. This gets an S tier though. Surprising, I know, but it's really good. Next up is the Famas, and I don't have the best loadout on this because I'm using the Loudener, because it sounds really sick with the Loudener. This thing, it's kind of too much like an Aes Val. However, it's not too bad since it does have a starter 25-round mag. But same damage, same RPM. It's pretty good. Overall, I'd give it a certified A tier, but not an S tier, because the Aes Val, although it has lower muzzle velocity and doesn't have the G2 conversion, it's just kind of overall better. Integral suppression and a slightly bigger mag with the extended mag is just a little bit better in my opinion. And it loses its 3-hit with the G2 conversion. Potato. Still, overall, this thing is a monster. Like, if you haven't given this thing a go... Oh. I was like, if I lose that fight, I'm gonna be so angry. Overall, A tier, very, very good. Next up is the AK-47. And the AK-47... Now, this thing is super good. Otherwise, it does 42 to 30, which is some insane damage. 600 RPM. Not the best recoil, but it's pretty accurate. Like, a lot of the recoil is just a lot of camera kick. The spray patterns are actually pretty accurate. So, a 3-hit to a 4-hit, right? Now, if you put hollow points on it, it actually goes from 42 to 30 to 50 to 25, which means you don't lose your 4-hit, and you gain a 2-hit to the limbs to, like, 50 studs, which, all things considered, makes it, like, the best 2-hitting gun in the entire game. Yes, better than the M3A1. It shoots 150 RPM faster. Yeah, it's not the most accurate, but this thing is just a beast, especially with hollow points. So I'm going to give it an A tier without hollow points and an S tier with hollow points, because they're so stupid broken on this thing. Next up is the Aug A1, though. It does 1 more damage LRC than the Aug A2, but 2 less than the Aug A1. It does about the same damage CQC as the Aug A1. I think a little bit more, but a little bit less than the Aug A2 does, which means it can 4-hit to 5-hit, but this thing shoots the fastest out of all the Augs, and is also just a beam, and plus, instead of the Aug A1's stupid scope on it that nobody likes, it has a Picatinny rail, which makes it a lot better in my opinion. Plus, hits to kill wise, it's about the same as the Aug A1, except it can't 4-hit quite as far. It's just overall, in my opinion, the best of the Augs. So it gets an A, while the other ones get like a B or C. I can't remember what I gave them, but it gets an A. It's really up there. Like, of the Augs, assault rifles, I think it's my favorite. Not just because it's the highest number, but like, Yeah, the A2 has that 3 hit, but this is just faster shooting, better reloads, better recoil, I believe. I don't know, maybe not, but it's still really, really strong. And next up is the L85A2. I don't even have to go into this one. If you watch my channel, you know that I believe that this is the best assault rifle in the entire game, along with like Oscar and Petrify TV and everybody who's made a video like that. It's because this thing is not only a beam, it can 4-hit all ranges, shoots 100 RPM faster than the Scar L does while doing the same hits to kill, and only drops 3 damage, which means armor piercing with no downsides. It also has higher muzzle velocity than I think every other assault rifle does. It's got a lot of good advanced stats, and like on paper it's like, oh well, it only does 28 to 25. But that's just a all-range 4-hit, no matter where you hit, essentially. It's like, oh, well, you can't 3-hit in a lot of scenarios. It's not that big of a deal. Most of the time, you're just not gonna with the other guns, so you may as well just go all the way, use this thing. It's really, really strong. So obviously, this one gets an S tier. Next up, we got the HK416. This is a super good gun. It's not insane. It's not the best gun. People need to stop saying it's the best gun or the worst gun because it's good, but it's not insane. It has the poopy recoil, and I think I made a video on it like very recently. Could have been yesterday, I don't even remember, but check out that video. It's on my channel somewhere. It'll also tell you the best loadout and everything, but yeah, this one gets a certified we'll give it an A tier. I was gonna give it a B, but we'll give it an A. We keep getting CQC maps, but anyways, this is the AK-74, and before I would have given this thing like an S tier or an A tier, because I was like, oh, well, it shoots faster than an AK-47, and it can 3-hit in CQC. It can't 4-hit all rangers, but it can 4-hit pretty far, and it 3-hits in CQC, and it has way less recoil. So I was like, well, it's just the AK-47, but better. That was until I realized what hollow points did to the AK-47. This gun has been completely blown out of the water by the AK-47 hollow points. It's just not even fair anymore. Yeah, it still shoots faster and has less recoil. So this can be more like mid-long range AK, which is really cool. But honestly, it doesn't sound nowhere near as cool as well. So overall, this one's like, it's good and all, but is it the best one? In my opinion, not anymore. It's still more accurate and whatnot, but the AK-74 gets a A tier, and the AKM is the next one. Forgot to say the tier before I switch to the next gun. This is the AKM. Now, this thing actually does way less damage in CQC than an AK-47, not only because it does 2 less damage, but also it doesn't have a torso multi, so it does like 5 less damage. But it does more damage in LRC. It does 32 min, which all things considered is very good. You can pretty much 3-hit all ranges, which is just insane. And it also has less recoil. Is it better than the AK-47? Some people might say yes, but in my opinion, just because, again, hollow points just blows all these guns out of the water, you can 2-hit limb to like 50 studs. How is that even fair at all, you know? So this gun gets a certified B tier. Now, it could go to an A. I think it's really, really good. Not just because it has better min, because the min isn't that big of a deal. It's only a 2 damage difference, and it still doesn't have a torso multi, so the AK-47 probably does the same damage as this in LRC with torsos. It's that lower recoil. It's not a ton less recoil, but it's definitely less recoil. But when you can get your gun to do 50 damage in CQC and 2-hit limb to 50 studs, it's obviously gonna make the other guns kind of inferior. You can feel free to disagree. Like, I still think that this gun is super good, but you know how it be, man. Sometimes there's just ammo types that make guns insane. Next up, we got the AK-103 and 5.56 bars barrel. Yeah, I'm still going to use it on this thing, but ooh, it's got the recoil now. Feels a lot more recoil intensive to me, and it's not the most accurate thing. I remember saying earlier that it was an HK416 upgrade, but again, because of ammo types, hollow points is another stupid broken ammo type when used on the HK416. I go into this in my HK416 loadout video, go check that out. But regardless, default, this might be a better HK416, but with hollow points, this thing is just blown out of the water by it because it can't 3-hit in CQC. But honestly, it's a really good gun, even without 5.56 or without bars barrel. It's a pretty good gun. And I think it's like, except for the M231, I think this is the fastest shooting 4-hit all ranges gun. If you don't use 5.56 and you use bars barrel, it's an 850 RPM 4-hit all ranges, which is pretty sick. Next up is the TAR-21. Now, this gun could be really good. It's got a torso multi and a good headshot multi, and it shoots pretty fast. but honestly, it's a little bit outclassed by some of the other guns. One example of this would obviously be the HK416 because of the hollow points. Other than that, this thing has a little bit less recoil, I feel, and same RPM, although the recoil kind of sucks. At this point, you may as well just use like K2 or something. Like K2 is just insane. It's definitely underrated. It's definitely pretty good, but I think I'm just gonna give it a C. Sadly, I don't think it really holds up in the same aspects as some of the other assault rifles. It's definitely not used that much, which is why it's underrated. If people used it a lot, I wouldn't say it's underrated, obviously, but yeah, honestly, it's pretty good gun, but it's not insane or anything. Now, the Type 88, man, I don't know about this gun. In my opinion, it's not that good. It shoots meh speed, you know? The recoil, it's kind of weird and wavy, and I don't like it at all. Feels a little bit like the Bison's does. And the damage is just kind of eh. I think the big upside here is the massive magazine, but honestly, even that, it's like, it doesn't really matter. There's a lot of guns in this game that, like, magazine capacity isn't that big of a deal, and a lot of people use, like, the regular mag or the conversion that makes it, like, do more damage, and yeah, those might be good and all, but in my opinion, overall, it's kind of just, it feels pretty eh to use. Like, it can go off because it's got a lot of bullets, but that's why the LMGs go off. But on an AK-34 damage, I guess the AK-74 does that. Man, I can just lane people for so long, for like years with this. It's pretty solid, so yeah, I think a certified B is in order. But next up we have the most stupid OP CQC gun in the entire game, the M231. And obviously, you know, a lot of people, I think Pajama made a video, and every time Pajama makes a video about something, it starts getting complaints. And you know what, the M231, I can see that. Is it really strong? Heck yeah, it is very, very strong. It literally 3 hits to like 100 studs and can 4 hit all ranges, shoots faster than the Vector. Like, yeah, the only downside is it's got a bit of recoil, you know? But is that a big deal? No, not in the slightest. Not in the slightest. It's so stupid. I love this gun, and I would say, yeah, it's tons of fun to use. But is it hard to use? Not really. You just gotta pull down a little bit. It's not really that difficult to use. So I think I will give this one a certified S tier because it's the best CQC gun in the entire game. It's really hard to argue against that. Now, next up we have the C7A2. Now, this gun, this gun has a really annoying community behind it. It's like the HK416, where it's just like these ultra sweat lords that are just like, ooh, this is my favorite gun. It is the best gun in the game. Except this one, I can kind of see why, because yeah, it doesn't do the most damage, but this thing is so stupid high accurate, and it does have a very nice damage range, especially with a long barrel. It's not a direct upgrade to the M4A1, but when you put 45 conversion, it basically is a direct upgrade to the M4A1. Like, it can 3 hit farther, 4 hit farther, it can 5 hit farther. If you put the long barrel on it, it has a 240 stud minimum damage range with the 45 conversion, and otherwise it has a 300 stud, which means you can 5 hit to probably like 280 or so studs. It's really, really strong. So yeah, broken or not broken? In my opinion, not broken, but very strong. So I'm gonna have to give this one an A tier. Yes, the M16 in my opinion is just a little bit better because of that extended mag and about the same damage. Yes, the damage ranges are nowhere near as good, and maybe this has better recoil control, although I'm not 100% sure on that. It does have a full stock though, and a full stock does make the recoil a bit better, you know? So C7A2 gets an A. And last up would be the G11. Obviously, I don't own this gun, and I'm not going to go in the test place for it. Plus, I couldn't even find the test place lately. Maybe I'm just blind. I have no idea. But this thing is basically a burst DMR. It has 28 to 21 damage, but insane multipliers. It has a 2100 RPM burst, a terrible automatic and a terrible semi-automatic. Just use it on burst, and it can 3 hit torso to what, 90 studs or so, and basically you can 1 burst people to 90 studs and 1 burst head, all ranges, do some insane damage. It's pretty good, but in my opinion, it's gonna go in the B tier. To use a TMR, I don't know, it's really good, but like in my opinion, it's not really that good, and it's just super tedious and not worth using. But that's just how I am. That's just where I'm at, bro. My preference right now, and for a while, has always been the K2. Also, Aes Val, really good. M16, of course. I have nearly 4,000 kills on this guy. Almost almost 800 on the LED5, over 1,000 on the HK416, almost 500 on this guy, 1,100 on this guy. So you can see which ones I use, and the M23 one I have about 400 on. But yeah, anyways, if you guys enjoyed, please comment, like, what guns do you think? What's your favorite assault rifle? Make sure to leave that down below because I do want to know which one do you think is the best. And also, if you guys enjoyed like this kind of video, maybe I'll go back and just tier the other ones, like do the other categories again, or finish off the categories that I haven't done, because I don't think I've done like PDWs and a couple other ones. So I'll do those ones like this if you guys want me to, because ranking those is going to be impossible with how many there are. Look, carbines, there's a ton of them. PDWs, there's even more. So that's why I've been holding off on those, and I think this is probably a better way to do it. But if you guys enjoyed, please leave a like and a sub. This is definitely going to be a long video, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.